Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a whole new episode of Full Steam Ahead. I'm your host, Zoe. My co-host on the other side, Angel. What is going on, bro?
Well, not much. Just chilling over here, ready to watch some Thursday night football. I know this you'll hear it on a Friday, but we are recording on a Thursday to
We
get you.
are recording. We are recording on Thursday. But hey, if you're listening to us in the morning or on your workday, happy fantastic Friday. The weekend is here. The last homestand at Minute Maid Park of the regular season. No one knows for sure if the Astros are going to be in the postseason, but you have to be optimistic if you're an Astros fan with the schedule that's holding out for the Astros. You got Framber going for game one on Friday night, and then the Seattle series, which we'll talk about that later in the next episode. You're going to have Justin Verlander and Framber Valdez pitching in that series at Seattle. So, very crucial series right here for the Royals. Episode 131. We're going to title it Now It's a Sprint.
Hmm.
It is a sprint now since there are only 9 games left in the Astros regular season schedule. Obviously, the Rangers and the Mariners are going to be fighting, I think, 7 of the last 11 games or 7 of the last 10
10.
games. Yeah. So they're going to be fighting each other for that wild card spot, the division. And I mean, man, it's going to be hectic these next couple of days. But Angel, tell me this series. What do you think about the Baltimore series? I mean, it wasn't the best for the Astros. I mean, you're playing the number one team in the American League. What do you think about it?
We finally saw some urgency from Dusty Baker, I believe. Again, if the Astros would have lost against the Baltimore Orioles in that last game and got swept, the Mariners and the Rangers won, so the Astros would have actually been in third place,
Yeah.
which at the time puts them out of the playoff, like out of playoff. So we did see a little bit of urgency because Javier had a good game going. He had, and we'll talk about his outing in a bit, but he had a really good game, and uh, like it was, he was my pick, I believe. Like if I recall, was he? Was he my
Let me
pick?
see. I'll check for you. I'll check for you. Let's see. Hoodie. Let's
Oh,
see.
no, he wasn't. It
No,
was Hunter
you
Brown.
had Hunter Brown.
Oh yeah, it was Hunter Brown. Never mind. Well, he's in my fantasy team, but he had a good, uh, he had a good outing and a really great one because again, like you said, there's a few games left. So if he wants to be a starter in that postseason game, seeing vintage Javier, at least a glimpse of it was good. Now he could have pitched six, but again, we saw that urgency from Dusty Baker. He went to his best guys out of the bullpen to try to seal in the deal, and Mauricio Dubon luckily was able to do that, right? But I think with Dusty's lineup, I think everybody wants to see the best time, but the way he's managing, I think it's good because there's be some fresh guys up there. Like for example, I think Acuna, if I'm not mistaken, got like a little scared, but he was back in the lineup. But I mean, he's gonna have some fresh guys. So, but pitching wise, because I know the bullpen's been struggling a little bit, we saw again like urgency from Dusty by putting the best guys out there.
Yeah, I mean they did lose the series. Game one they had it, but I mean you just tip your cap to the other team. I mean Cedric Mullins put a good swing onto that pitch that sent it to the bullpen. I think that's another guy that's on your fantasy team
Yeah,
too.
that is.
See,
That is.
gosh, I mean, your fantasy team is doing destruction to the Astros. But I mean, the game one, I mean, the Astros had it in their hand. Bullpen did a decent job. Rafael Montero gave up them 2 runs, and then obviously Ryan Presley. I mean, everybody was bashing on him on at least on Twitter I've seen or X,
And then
whatever app you want to call it.
like the sad part and the part that I don't completely understand and is the awful part of the game is that they were tagging his mother as well on Twitter. Like,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
shouldn't be doing that.
that's low.
No,
Like,
it should not be doing that. That is not why that platform is there for a reason to be bashing on players or even making them, other accounts, them just
yeah,
new user accounts that has them random handles. But I mean, Baltimore is a good team, regardless. They're the number one team in the American League for a reason, and the top in the AOEs. They play in a hard. I mean, if you think about it, just in that last series when the Astros traveled to Baltimore, remember Felix Bautista was the closer in that game, and Kyle Tucker hit that go ahead grand slam.
hmm,
Same thing here, the first game, and I believe that was the first game too in Baltimore
yeah.
when Tucker did that. Same thing here. Closer comes into that situation. Cedric Mullins puts a good swing on it. Tip your cap to the other team, but I mean, you rather lose to a team like this than a team like the Kansas City Royals, a team like the Oakland Athletics, because honestly, this could be a potential ALCS preview if the Astros do make the postseason. I mean, and it's a good one because all these games have been high scoring or close games that came, to the seventh inning or determined in the eighth inning or the ninth inning. So very good to see. But
They
that,
went three. They
oh,
went 3-3 in the season, right?
yeah,
Or
in the season, the Astros went to Baltimore, took that series, and the Orioles came to Minute Maid Park and took the series at Houston. But like I was saying, real quick, Angel, shout outs. There's no shout outs here. We're doing pros and cons on this one. Of course, we'll do the preview of the Kansas City Royals, offensive and pitching MVPs in the hot take, and then our over under. But before we get started, Angel, what do you think about the move with Dusty Baker not putting Yordan Alvarez in that last game of that series against the Orioles? What I want to get your take on that before we deal with the pros and cons.
well, for me, you know, yes, you want your best guys up there every single time, right?
Hmm.
But he needs a breather too. And then he's been kind of on a little slump because he went 0 for 10, 0 for 11 in the Baltimore series. I know he didn't play that third game, and then in KC, in that like he went 1 for 4, 2 for 5, and then 1 for 5. So he hasn't really had it going yet. Again, and he hasn't hit that. He's only had one home run in the past like what 6 7 games.
Hmm.
So I mean, the Astros won. It's not a big,
Yeah.
like yeah, it's not. I mean, it's not a big deal. Like I guess I mean he needs his rest too. Like Jordan can't be carrying the load, and I think like a good breather. Regroup, regress, and he'll be ready to go.
Yeah, 162 games for a reason. Of course, he's been on the injured list about the first half of the season, really. But like you said, yeah, you got to give this big man a rest, especially if the Astros are trying to make the postseason run. But at the same time, too, like you were saying, with that sense of urgency, with Dusty Baker going to that bullpen quickly with Neris and them, I feel like you have to have that urgency too to play your best guys out there in order to guarantee
Yeah,
you a spot in the postseason. Because just imagine, like you were saying, if we didn't win this game, if the Astros didn't win this game, Texas and Seattle would be 1 and 2 in the division, and I think either or would have been the wild card, Toronto in the wild card, and then the Astros out. So it's kind of now through. That's why this episode is called "Now It's a Sprint." You got to play your best guys 1 through 9 in the lineup, in the order. You have to find a way. You got to have better coaching. Um, putting the best people out there. So nothing against Dusty. Of course, we're not coaches. We're not in his seat, but we just throw our opinion out there. But Angel, let's start off with our pros, man. I mean, give us some pros of this series. I mean, you were talking about Christian Javier being one. Should tell us what do you think?
yeah, he's gonna be the first one. Christian Javier again. I think we've been hard on Christian Javier all season, and honestly, it was. I mean, it was not like well deserved, but it was like it was there because he couldn't finish 5 innings consistently. Those walks, his command wasn't there, but we saw a different Javier today. He went 5 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, and 11 strikeouts. I don't remember the last
Wow.
time Christian Javier had a double-digit strikeout. Like double digits in strikeouts. Like
Hmm.
that's it's been a while. It's been a while for sure. But being able to see it now, and honestly, like I said this before, it doesn't matter what you do in the regular seasons, what you can do in the postseason. So if Javier can be like that in the postseason, everybody's gonna forget about the season he had. So it was good. He had 91 pitches, 62 for strikes. And again, oh wait, there we go. Sorry, Lorenzo got me. Hasn't thrown a double-digit strikeout since May 10th against the Angels, and that was 11. So appreciate Zoe on that one. But yeah, it was good to see because the Astros. I mean, it was the Baltimore Orioles, so I don't want to like bash on the pitchers too much, but they kind of like struggled a little bit. But again, like you said, best team in baseball, right, in the American League. So it was a dogfight, but having Javier, and it was a crucial win because again, if they would have been
Yeah.
swept, they would have been out of the playoffs for the moment. So shout out to Javier for stepping up, and then the Astros offense. Let's talk about that one a little bit because again, especially in the postseason, you want to score early, right? Because
Hmm.
especially in the postseason, it's hard to play from behind. The energy's up, and the opponent scores 1 2 runs in the beginning. That momentum just it's a it can take the momentum differently. So Astros offense scored in the first inning in 2 to 3 games, which is always great to play with a lead. Helps the pitchers
Right.
relax a little bit. On Monday, they scored 1 run. Tuesday, they scored 2 runs, and obviously, on Wednesday did not score any runs because it was a late scoring game. But speaking of late scoring games, the offense does not give up. So yeah, they scored in the first inning, but they also scoring late in the game. Which again, if you're behind, you want to stay in the game, which is crucial as well
Hmm.
for any scoring runs is crucial, right?
Definitely.
On Monday they scored 6 runs after the sixth inning, which is great.
Wow.
Tuesday they scored 2 runs, and Wednesday scored 2 runs, and obviously the 2 runs was what they needed on Wednesday to win the game. So the Astros are hanging in there, like they can do it. It's just I think, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit, but that bullpen needs to step up a little bit, and
Yeah.
yeah, because
It got to tighten up.
yeah, for sure. Like I like again, like I don't know the numbers on top of my head, but lately they have been struggling keeping holding leads or uh keeping the Astros in the game.
I mean, your bullpen pieces right now that you feel confident going in,
It's very
I
few.
would say is Hector Neris and Brian Abreu. No offense to Ryan Presley because he's only blown about what 4 or 5 saves of the
Yeah,
season, which is not bad, but he's been a little shaky.
yeah.
So he's like kind of borderline trustworthy, but he is your closer for a reason. He's probably one that he'll probably be the number two closer in Astros history. Obviously,
Oh wow,
number
that's
one
with
being Bill, number
why?
one being Billy Wagner.
What about
You get,
Lidge or
I mean,
uh,
there's a debate between them two, Brad Lidge and Ryan Presley, but I mean, you got to give, man, I don't know. That could be a good debate in the offseason, honestly. Ryan Presley and Brad Lidge, because I mean, you could flirt with both of them being number two in the closing role. I mean, you got Dave Smith too in the '80s,
mhm.
so very very good, interesting debate. But I'd say them two right now, Hector Neris and Brian Abreu. I feel comfortable. Montero gave up some runs in this series.
Hey, but he's look
Um,
better though.
yeah, I mean, give credit to Montero. I mean, nothing against him. He did give up these 2 earned runs, but yeah, like you were saying, he's had a better second half of the regular season for the Astros. Ryan Stanek, I mean, he's on a rehab assignment right now for in Sugarland. Who else? Phil Maton. He's a little shaky right
Yeah,
now too. So the only two guys I say, in my opinion, is Brian Abreu and Neris being I'd feel comfortable in some high leverage situations.
yeah.
But I'm a counter on your pros. Yeah, of course, we got to see you see the highs, we got to see the lows and the cons. I mean, that wasn't being bad of the series, but let's talk about it real quick. The Astros lose their third consecutive series. One being the Oakland Athletics, two being the Kansas City Royals, and now three being the Baltimore Orioles. Two of them honestly should have been winnable series. They should have been a winning series for the Astros, but of course it's baseball. It has its differences. It goes different ways. But they another thing too. They've also dropped the first game of each series and haven't won the first game of a series since September 4th against the Texas Rangers.
Oh wow.
And that first game is very crucial to set the tone for the series. In my opinion, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
So real quick, I got to break it down. In the month of September, since we're getting close to the end of it, let's look at it. New York Yankees. The first game of that series, they only scored 2. The Texas Rangers first game scored 13. The San Diego Padres, they scored 2. The Oakland Athletics 0, which is not great to hear. Kansas City Royals 2, and then Baltimore 7. You see that pattern I was saying too, right?
You're not gonna win too many games scoring 2 runs.
Especially two, yeah, 2 runs, you ain't gonna win nothing unless you're having a great pitching performance from your starting pitcher and then the bullpen locks it down. But I said too, like I said, after every off day on a Thursday, if you look at the schedule and that Friday game, the Astros have scored 2 runs in each of those Friday games, which is very crazy. And the
Oh
Yankees,
wow.
2, San Diego, 2, Kansas City, 2. Angel, today is Friday. How are we feeling? Are we scoring? Are the Astros are going to score 2 runs, or are they going to break that streak and finally score some runs?
I think so. I think that walk off win, how Dusty Baker said it best, like he was glad to see smiling faces, in the locker room because he even said it was like a Morgan there after those 3 consecutive like serious losses. So I don't know. Sometimes all you need is like a brawl or a walk off win or late inning
Yeah.
heroics to get the momentum shifting and hopefully Dubon out of all people stepping up. That's like no one better, right? So I think this could
Hmm.
be a momentum shifter for the Astros. I think, especially seeing the standings, are like, you know, like if I'm in that clubhouse, I see a half game. I need to win every game.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna leave. I'm not gonna leave it to the other team hoping they would lose or hoping that like you want to control your faith. You want to make sure if you if you miss the playoffs, it's because of you, or if you make the playoffs, it's because of you did it, right? So I think
Mhm.
that's should be the tone in the clubhouse, and maybe they take advantage of Kansas City this time.
Yeah, we'll talk about that here in a minute. But the last con I would have to say, the last negativity about this series, Yordan Alvarez, Kyle Tucker, and Jose Abreu. Of course, everybody knows how Jose Abreu's season has been. It has been promising. It had the contract doesn't look very promising from getting the signing on him, but Kyle Tucker and Yordan Alvarez, them two guys are very crucial to this Astros lineup. And three of them in this series went for a combined batting average of 188. 188. They went 6 for 32, two doubles, one triple, two home runs, four RBIs, three walks, eight strikeouts. You're not going to win a lot of ball games if you can't produce, especially in the 3-4-5, 4-5-6, wherever Dusty puts you, wherever Bregman too. Bregman even in this series, dude, he went 1 for 10. So the big guys in that lineup, the big meat of the lineup being Yordan, Tucker, and Brady, they gotta step up big time in this last stretch of the season. Last 7 games, let me break it down for you. Last 7 games for all these three players. Kyle Tucker, he's batting 179 with 5 hits, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, 5 strikeouts. Yordan Alvarez, you were talking about him. He's been a little, in a little slump lately. Well, he's batting 217, 5 hits, 2 home runs, 8 RBIs, 6 walks. Jose Abreu, on the other hand, 179 batting average, 5 hits, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, 10 strikeouts, double digit strikeouts for Abreu. So this part of the lineup got to step up. And the last part of this season, if the Astros are going to make the postseason, you can't keep, putting Jose Altuve being the RBI producer like how he was in the Texas series. You can't put the pressure on him. You
Or the
can't put the
bottom of the
pressure
lineup.
on Bregman. Yeah, especially on the bottom of the lineup being Chaz and Mauricio Dubon or Jeremy Pena, all these other guys, Yonder Diaz. You can't put pressure on those guys. Kyle Tucker, I mean, give credit to him. He's leading the American League with RBIs. Yordan Alvarez is not too far. I'm pretty sure he's in the top 10 category in the American League. Jose Abreu, that's the number one guy, and that's my X factor. If the Astros make it to the playoffs, he has to step up big time. So those numbers don't sound too great, but when you have a team like the Kansas City Royals coming into Houston, it can, uplift the confidence, shift the momentum for these guys, and hopefully break out and take that momentum to Seattle at T-Mobile Park.
Hmm.
But
I hope so.
you got, I mean, the guys got to take advantage of this series. 9 of these games, I mean, completely honestly with you right now, Angel, my opinion, they need to sweep the Royals. They got to win both series against the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Seattle Mariners. Some way, somehow, you got to beat the Mariners. I mean, the Mariners have been a thorn in the Astros the whole season this year. I think that's the only losing record in the AL West for the Astros is against Seattle. So they got to
And then
find a way to win that series.
and honestly, the Astros have sort of an advantage, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because again, like you said, the Rangers and the Seattle are playing 7 of the last 10 games, right? So
Mhm.
it's Astros in Kansas City, and then Texas and Seattle, and all three of those teams, the playoff starts today, or it could
Yeah.
start a little bit earlier. Like from now on, they're all playoff games, playoff kind of playoff games. Now, while the Mariners and the Rangers are beefing it out, trying to take every win, like look at you like playoff games. So they might be starters with short innings, like and they might use that bullpen a little bit more, or you know they might have their players like reach a little limit that they didn't have. So the Astros need to cruise to the Kansas City Royals. So where when they see Seattle, Seattle's gonna again. They just got that matchup against the Rangers. They're probably all like tired out because it was a tough series. That's when the Astros need to be like stepping on their throats and like we had it easy. Well, hopefully, right? Like we cruise to the Royals. Let's hit them when they're down, right? And I
Yeah.
think if they can do that, then the Astros have a pretty good chance of doing that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure T-Mobile Park is going to be electric. I mean, they're the electric factory for a reason. in their, that's their nickname over there at T-Mobile with the fans over there in the Pacific Northwest. But I mean, you got to take advantage of the series starts like right now, like you were saying. You got to take care of business against the Royals. Find a way to sweep these guys. Put the pressure on both Seattle and Texas. To me, I think Texas got to win. Well, we said 7 of the last 10 games they're playing against each other. Four of three or 5 of 2. Because if the Astros and the Mariners at the end of the season are tied, the
Mariners.
tiebreaker goes to the Mariners. The Mariners win the division. They get the first week bye, and then the Astros have to go in the wild card with maybe one of their top 2 starting pitchers in the rotation pitch in one of those games. So starts now, like you said, Angel. The playoffs start now for the Astros because I think too, if the Astros do win that division, you get that bye that week. I think it's a week that they get a rest break. They really need it bad. You could really tell, like honestly, you could see on the
Hmm.
field that they need it. They really need a big rest week. So my opinion, I think it's our opinions too, as we say. So just have to see. But let's get with that preview against the Kansas City Royals. Obviously, the Astros did lose that series, like we were talking about earlier in the podcast. But Royals, I mean, them guys, 51 and 102, 102 loss in the season. They are last in the AL Central, obviously, but 7-3 in their last 10 games, Angel, and they just swept the Cleveland Guardians at
Oh wow.
Kansas City. So best believe momentum on their side right now is shifting into Minute Maid Park, and they're gonna try to do everything in their power, like you said before, and be spoilers to the Astros. So Friday, 7:10 start time. You got Cole Reagans for the Kansas City Royals, 6-4 with a 3.33 ERA. He'll be going against Framber Valdez, who is 12-10 with a 3.20 ERA. And the franchise angel, he's looked sharp in the month of September. His last start was against the Kansas City Royals. 7 innings pitched, 6 hits, 1 run, 0 of them being earned, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. Did have 92 pitches, 55 of them were strikes. But like I was saying, I mean, this guy has looked sharp in the month of September. Sorry about that. He's 2-1 with a 171 ERA. He's gone 3 straight starts with 7 innings, and he has 5 straight quality starts. You, as an Astros fan, you have to feel optimistic going into Friday night's game, feeling promising and feeling that the outcome is going to be in the Astros' favor when you have Framber on the mound. But Cole Reagans is going to be the other guy on the other side trying to ruin that because he's been really outstanding ever since being in the Kansas City Royals uniform. Last outing versus Houston, the Astros did get to him. 6 innings, 6 hits, 5 earned runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. He did throw 100 pitches, 65 of them were strikes. He has pitched over 100 pitches in his back-to-back starts in September. Angel, the Astros just flat out need to find a way to put pressure on Reagans how they did over there in Kansas City.
Hmm. Again, I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry. I was looking up the Reagan stats. My bad.
No, you're
Okay,
good.
so you asked me how do they actually put pressure on him?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, yep, get on base. So I'm looking right here at the base runner splits. Right when he has a runner on, it's not giving me the ERA, but it's giving me the WHIP, and the WHIP can kind of tell us how he is. So when a runner on first is 188, runner on first and second goes to 1, but runners on first and third, that WHIP is to 4, and it just keeps increasing from there. So we
Wow.
can get on base, put some pressure on him. Hey, he kind of falters under pressure a little bit. So that's what I say. Get on base, take those walks, do what you got to do to get on base.
Yeah, that's what the Astros did. I think in the 5th inning of that game. I mean, I can't put my the pin on the point, but I think it was the 5th inning or the 6th inning. Around that time, the Astros started putting some runners on the base, and then they were scoring some runs. So, like you were saying, put the pressure on them, get on base some way, somehow, bunt, hit and run. I mean, something, get it going. Saturday, 6:10 start time. The Royals haven't announced their starting pitchers for Saturday and Sunday's game, but it is to be determined. We'll let you know if we find anything out there for the starters. But JP France, on the other hand, is going for the Astros, and he is 11-5 with a 3.84 ERA. His last outing versus the Royals, it wasn't really too great. 4 1/3, 5 hits, 5 earned runs, 4 walks, 0 strikeouts. I think that was the first time this season, and his starts at least, he has thrown no strikeouts. I mean, that is crazy to see, but it happens. Another thing with him, I mean, his command against the Royals was not the best. He struggled big time. He made a lot of pitching mistakes, leaving the ball inside the zone, just leaving it in the zone for the hitters to hit. So he has to find a way to get his command going, especially in the start at Minute Maid Park. He's always been a guy too. I'd say when he has a rough and shaky start, the next one going into, he looks pretty damn good. So find a way to get that command going. But the pitches, I wanted to talk about that for a minute. Against left-handed hitters, he threw 22 four-seam fastballs, 13 changeups, zero sweepers, 10 curveballs, zero cutters. Okay, 13 changeups, zero sweeps, zero cutters. The right-handed hitters, 23 four-seamers, which a lot of the fastballs were in the zone. I mean, I'm pretty sure. I know for sure Salvador Perez took an RBI double off of that one. Zero changeups, four sweepers, two curveballs, 14 cutters. If you see there, the changeups through 13 to left-handed hitters, right-handers, zero. Curveball, 10 curveballs into the left-handed hitters, two to the right-handers. Zero cutters to the left-handed hitters, 14 cutters to the right-handed hitters. Angel, this is a must bounce back game for JP France, especially for the rotation in general for the Astros pitching, because we talked about before. I'm not going to say it again, but JP France, yeah, needs a big bounce back game against the Kansas City Royals. You're on mute.
Sorry, I had a train behind me. No, but yeah, you're right. He does need a bounce back game. He's been one of the Astros' most consistent pitchers, and the Astros are going to rely on him heavily because again, right now, the two consistent starters for the Astros is Framber, Verlander, and then JP France. Other than that, it's been kind of shaky. So this is the last guy the Astros need to be a little bit shaky. And then again, this is where it matters. It's September, it's also October. He's in dire need of a comeback, which I think he could get. Like I think he has a little advantage that he's seen the Royals, so
Mhm.
he's not start, so he's kind of be able to right. They hit this at this time, they hit this at that time, right? So he kind of adjust a little bit, and if he can adjust, he will have a bounce back game. Calling it now.
Yeah, I think he can because if you look at it, the first game against the Red Sox, he got shaken up. The first game against the Rangers, shaken up as well. He got shaken up against the Royals. This is an opportunity to bounce back, like you said. I think he can do it as well. Sunday, the last game of the homestand at Minute Maid Park. I'm pretty sure. I believe that's probably Fan Appreciation Day
Yeah.
in most schedules. So try to find a way to get out there, Astros fans. If you go in 110 start time to be determined, like I said, for the Royals. Hunter Brown is going to be the guy on the mound for the Astros. 11 and 12 with a 4.87 ERA. Brown's last start against the Baltimore Orioles, he went 5 1/3, 6 hits, 7 earned runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. That doesn't sound very promising. It just gets worse from here. Since August 1st, Brown has increased that ERA to a 6.92. He's allowed at least one home run in 3 of his last 4 starts. The long ball has been really hurting Hunter Brown, at least this part of the regular season for him, and his first regular season as a starting pitcher for the Astros. Because if you look at that Baltimore game, he almost got out of some jams, but was hurt with the long ball. Austin Hayes, for sure, took him deep, but I mean, just made some mistakes. So obviously, to a team against the Orioles, it's a young team, but they don't play like a young, team like the Astros in 2015. I really compared that Baltimore team to the 2015 Astros because they have nothing to lose. Obviously, they're trying to get better too as a team, but Brown, on the other hand, he has to find a way to keep the ball in the ballpark, I'd say.
No, yeah, absolutely, and you know it's crazy because they compare Hunter Brown to Justin Verlander. Well, guess who has an
Yeah,
issue with the long ball too? Justin Verlander as well.
that's
So
true. That is true.
no, but I feel the reason is because they try to rely on their fastball a little bit, and it makes sense when you have a power fastball. That's your bread and butter, right? Fastball slider. But sometimes it's just like the location issues. Like I remember, I think who had O'Hearn hit a home run off Hunter Brown. I was watching the game, and when the fastballs were high, he was like fouling them off, like barely touching them. But
Mhm.
the one he hit the home run was a like inside low fastball. So because it was kind of low, O'Hearn was able to tally it and put it over the fence, right? So I think that's the issue with Hunter Brown. Like that fastball needs to be a little bit more higher. if he's going to use it, which he is going to use it again. That's his best pitch besides the slider. So I mean, just keeping it up and not putting it into batter's wheelhouse.
Dude, O'Hearn had a freaking series against the Astros.
Yeah, I think he
I
went
think
like
he
what
what did
eight
he
for
go
eight.
five? Yeah, I mean it felt like it, but I think he went 5 for 5 in the first game. I think,
I think he went
or
four for.
something like that.
I think he
Four
went
for
four
five
for
maybe.
four, and then he went 2 for 2. I think he went like 7 consecutive at bats with a hit.
He had a good series against the Astros, dude. But before we get to our offensive and pitching MVPs, I believe, and this is my thoughts, my opinion. Don't judge me. Don't bribe on me and everything like that. Is it time to see Jose Urquidy get a start? I mean, I honestly think if the Astros do make the postseason, the guy has experience being a starter. He was a starter in one of the games in the World Series. He has the most wins of a Mexican pitcher in the World Series. Does Dusty Baker need to give him a chance? Because remind you, we have 9 games left. At least one start, you got to give him, I'd say, against Arizona and Seattle. I want your thoughts. I mean, do you think Dusty or the Astros need to at least to give this man one start?
You know, I think so. Would it happen? I don't know because they're trying to again in the postseason. You only get what 3 4 starters, and I don't think Urquidy's going to be one of them. So if he's not, why not give him that work in that bullpen? Like let him get comfortable because honestly, Urquidy has not seen look comfortable on the mound since that injury, and
Mhm.
like he didn't look comfortable starting. He didn't look comfortable, and he especially doesn't look comfortable coming out the bullpen. So I think it's just like uh, a matter of like getting your feet wet. Like I mean, he's done it before. Like he did in the playoffs as well. Like, but I think having him like do it a little bit more, I think it'll be beneficial for him for the playoffs. But I don't know. Maybe he doesn't even start to get the little like. I feel like it's just mental for Jose Urquidy right now. So maybe having his routine pre-game, do what you got to do beforehand. Like, I mean, I can see it beneficial, but I don't think it's gonna
Mhm.
happen.
2019 went 1-0 with a 0.90 ERA, and this is postseason overall. 2020 0-1 with a 4.02. 2021 2-1 with an
Is this coming off the
8.22.
bullpen?
No, this is bullpen and starts.
Okay,
So 2-1, 8.22 ERA. In 2022, I remind you, he only pitched one game in that postseason. That was
which is
against the
crazy.
Phillies. He won one game in the bullpen, 3 innings, one hit, 0 earned runs, one walk, and 4 strikeouts. But to me, like yeah, you were saying with the 3 and 4 with the postseason for this guy. Look at your starters right now. I mean, you got Justin Verlander. I know. I mean, for sure, it's going to be Justin Verlander and Framber Valdez being game 1 and game 2 starters if the Astros make the postseason. Game 3 and game 4 after that, it's a toss up. Honestly, it could be JP France. It could be Hunter Brown. It could be Hunter Brown. It could be Jose Urquidy. It could be JP France. Oh, I'm forgetting Christian Javier.
Yeah, I was about to say, knowing Dusty Baker, I'm sure it's gonna be Christian Javier.
Yeah. So, I mean, let me see. I'm looking. I'm trying to find the game that Kitty came back. One start against the Yankees, he went 3 1/3. That was his first game coming back from that injury in April. And I remember that game. He just struggled that last inning. That was it. Against the Angels, he did get a start. He went 5 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run. The next start was against Boston, 4 2/3, 8 hits, 4 earned runs. And that was the last time he had a start, and that was on August 23rd. So to me, I think at least, which I mean at the same time we can't be putting because we said before you got to put your best players out there regardless. But to me, Hunter Brown, he's a great player. He is a great pitcher. The Astros brought him up last year for a reason. He pitched in the postseason in the bullpen. But I just think having that experience on the starting mound, like Jose Urquidy has had, is going to be crucial for the Astros rotation if they get there. That's just me. Hunter Brown looked good out of the bullpen last year for the Astros in the postseason, but to me, I feel like Urquidy does at least need to have one start before going. And like I said, if the Astros get to that postseason, that's my opinion. I mean, what do you never answered it, but I mean, do you think
Okay.
he does need to get a start though?
Yeah, I would say yeah because just for like confidence issues, get his groove back on. Like I was saying, like that pregame routine and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I think he does. Do I think he gets it? No, that's my thing. Yeah, I think he does, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah, we'll just have to see. Just have to monitor it. Could be a great possibility. Be a great scenario for the Astros to do, especially against the Diamondbacks and against the Seattle Mariners. But just have to see when it gets there, Angel.
Yeah. And again, a much needed series win for the Astros. Much needed series sweep for the Astros. Much,
Yes.
much yet. But moving on to our MVPs and our hot takes, I had Kyle Tucker, but what we heard from Lorenzo for the cons that he didn't get it. I had Hunter Brown, did not have a good outing. He allowed 7 runs, 2 walks, and 5 strikeouts. And our Astros pitchers throw 6 innings or more. Well, did not
It was
happen. So
close.
it was close. And I honestly thought that Christian Javier was going to throw 6 innings, but uh, again,
Pitch count just got high at the end.
yeah. But a fresh start, it's a weekend.
New
Hopefully
weekend.
things
New weekend.
change. Yeah. So my offensive MVP is gonna be Jeremy Pena. I think he's gonna be one of the guys that are gonna need to step up, and he did. Like he tied
Dude,
the game
yeah.
up in that last series, and you said that Jose Abreu was your X factor. Well, Pena's another one that
Yeah.
he has a tendency to get. Last year he got hot late, and he's been hitting the ball pretty good. Like
Hmm.
a lot of hard contact. So hopefully that continues and they start to fall. My pitching MVP is going to be JP France. I think he needs a big outing, especially if he wants to cement himself in that postseason rotation. The Astros scored more than 15 runs this series. That's 5 runs a game, and so they're going to need it to compete, and they're going to need to win this series. So I'm going to say 15 or more runs.
Wow, 15 or more. I mean, that's very crucial for them to get that. The offense really needs to get that. And it starts with Cole Reagans. So if you could put 5+ runs on him, like you were saying, by all means, you could see what happens in this series, and maybe the Astros do have a better outcome than the last time. But great
Yes,
picks. I like Jake. What?
I, I should probably bench Cole Reagan then because I'm just
Another fantasy update right there for Angel Kent too. But for me, on the other hand, I had Jose Altuve. I mean, he had a decent series. I don't know if you would really count that as a point. JV, I wouldn't count it. It wasn't his best. And then the Astros take the series. Obviously, they didn't. They lost the series, but I did get half a point. I don't know if you really could give that half and hold Rutschmanson to under a 350 batting average. They held him to a 286, only allowing him have 2 hits in the series. So pretty good job for the Astros on that young prospect. I think he did win Rookie of the Year last year, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, I think so too as well. But like you said, it's a new weekend, Angel. Last homestand, last series at Minute Maid Park of the regular season. Can the Astros be back at Minute Maid Park? Just have to see. But for now, Alex Bregman's going to be my offensive MVP. Like I had mentioned earlier in the show, he went 1 for 10 against the Baltimore Orioles. Some at bats didn't look like Alex Bregman at bats. He did have a couple of walks. He did have some strikeouts. So I'm looking for a bounce back uh, series for Breggy. Framber Valdez, I mean, picked him first. I mean, picked him once, picked him twice. Third time's the charm. He's done a great job on the mound in the month of September. So he's going to set the tone for the Astros in the first game of this series against the Royals. So I got him as the MVP for my pitching. And then the hot take, Angel, you went on the offensive standpoint. I'm going to go on the pitching standpoint. Astros finished the homestand on a good note, meaning a series win or a sweep. But of course, I have to have I have to have a cherry on the top, dude. Have to have a cherry on the top. And I say the whole and yeah, as I'm my God, dude, I can't even talk right now. I think the Astros are going to hold the Royals to a total of less than 10 runs. I think it's possible. I think it's possible, but you got the offense going 15 plus. I got the Astros pitching holding them to 10 or less. So
That's the recipe
could
for some
happen.
wins.
Yeah, it could be for. I mean, shoot, we're given the recipe for the success of this series, but at the end of the day, it's the Astros if they could do that.
Oh, yeah, and again, hopefully that walk off, fires them up. Like I think this team, like they've tried it. Again, they had team meetings, but I don't know. It's just like I don't know, like nothing's motivating them, and hopefully this is it. You know, you're half, you have a half game slim lead, and you only have the tiebreaker against the Rangers. So you know, you better hope the Rangers take a few, right? But I mean, this is it. You gotta win. There's no, literally no turning back from now. But moving on to the over and unders. Again, we got a few over and unders left, and I think Lorenzo's gonna end up winning it because he's winning 38-41. I
Oh,
mean,
but you never know. You never know. We still got 3 series left.
although Lorenzo's the one that keeps the scores. I don't know. I need to double check some.
Ah,
Just
go
kidding.
ahead, go ahead.
Just
I
kidding.
mean, you could go ahead and
I'm
I
just
ain't,
kidding.
I ain't gonna lie.
Um, I'm just messing with you. But again, this time the over and unders are things we need to see in the upcoming series. So that's why they're my over and unders. Like these are things we the Astros have to see, have to do.
Mhm.
So the first one, France walks less than 3 batters. I think walks have been an issue for JP France. He's not a very high strikeout guy, but he's a very high walk guy. So in Kansas City, he walked 4 and struck out 0. In San Diego, he walked 5. In Texas, he walked 3. So my over and under, do you see France walking less than 3 batters?
So is the less meaning 3 and down, or we're going 3 and up?
So that means if you go under, that means he's throwing less than 3 walks.
Then three. Okay, so
All
that'd
right,
be two.
and then if you go over, that means it's more than 3 walks. But this time the under wins, right? So you know, okay, basically what it is.
Give me under the stash. I have full strength of that stash of his. Um, like I said, he's always bounced back on a start from an opposing team. Like I had mentioned about the Red Sox and the Rangers, I think he could do it right here against the Royals. The Royals isn't like the high competitive team, but they're gonna make you work for your outs. And I think JP France could get control. If he could get control of his command, there is no way he's walking three or plus.
Okay, I'm gonna go over on this one just because I think he gets 3 walks, but I don't
Mhm.
think he goes over it. So I'm gonna go over. Because that means he has to throw 2 walks or less in order
Yeah,
to get the
correct.
over. So I'm gonna go over. I think he gets 3. Exactly.
Exact three.
Yeah, 3 exactly. Which I mean, on paper it's not too bad, but you know you can't defend the walk. So
Walks haunt.
yeah,
Walks kill. I mean, they haunt at the end of the day.
yes. So you don't want to have too many, right? But I'm gonna go over just to try to catch up and maybe sweep through, like take back this victory. But the next one, and again, we did mention a little bit that the Astros bullpen has been struggling. Well, let me tell you how they struggle with Baltimore. So in Baltimore, again, a good hitting team, they allowed 15 hits. Kansas City, they allowed 9 hits, and Oakland, they allowed 7 hits. Again, usually the Stars take more of the load, but the bullpen has been pretty taxed. So over and under, do you think the Astros bullpen allows less than 8 hits?
I'll go under on this one. I have full confidence in that Astros bullpen. I think they regroup, they fix it. They have that off day, so it gives them an extra breathing room. Of course, you got Framber on the mound. He's thrown 3 consecutive 7 inning starts. Possibility, Angel. Possibility. So I'll go with the under though.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the under with you as well. But again, the Astros bullpen needs to step up again. If
Hmm.
Francis yeah, the Astros could have easily, how you said, taken 2 out of 1, but again, Prezi couldn't close it out. And honestly, in that second game, the bullpen didn't really keep the Astros in the game.
Yeah.
The Astros had some good home runs, like some crucial home runs to get us back, like to get them back into like 2 or 3 runs, and then the bullpen just blew it out of the water after that. So they're gonna have to be big in order for the Astros to stay in contention. Now, this will be another Astros wide one. So the next one is Astros walk more than 11 times. So they hit rock 11 or more times. You got it. Baltimore, they walked 13 times. KC, they walked 11 times. And Oakland, they walked 9 times. And then before you answer, I just want to see, like, if we're just talking about, yes, they took 1 out of 2 against Baltimore. But they could have easily taken on 3. And look how they're getting on. They're getting on, like, they're getting on base. They walked 13
Hmm.
times. In Oakland, that was the one they couldn't do anything. And they couldn't get on base. Well, they walked 9 times, right? So if the Astros get on base, good things happen. I know what they've been struggling in, with runners in scoring position,
Yeah, that's a big thing too.
but the more opportunities you get, some are gonna hit. It's like a casino, right? You keep playing, one of them's gonna fall. So, what do you think? Over and under on walks?
Man, I got to figure out what casino you're going to because I'm not never hitting on the slot machines or on blackjack table. But where we're I'll go. I'll go over. I think the offense needs to not swing out of the zone. Altuve has some, has a little
He
problem
is
doing that. Alvarez has recently started to do that. Abreu, like I had mentioned, 10 strikeouts in his last 7 games. The guy's got to be patient at the plate.
on your DS too.
Yeah, Yainer Diaz is a free swinger as well. Let the pitcher work. Let the ball come to you. Hit a quality pitch. So I'll go over on this one. I think they'll put pressure on the pitchers.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go over on this one as well. Again, it's only a 3 game series, but if they can walk 13 times against the Baltimore Orioles, which has pretty good pitching, I think they can do it against Royals as well. So, and they're gonna need to, get on base by any means. And then, lastly, this is the guy the Astros need to get going again. And you said it best, right? With like you gave us those numbers with Kyle Tucker, but Yordan Alvarez, he's he's the Astros lineup, right? He's him,
Mhm.
like the kids are saying, uh,
He's him.
not nowadays, right? So Jordan records 4 or more hits against Baltimore. He had 0 hits. KC 4, Oakland 2, and San Diego 5. What do you say?
You know what? He's him. I'm him as well. I'm riding with Yordan Alvarez getting them 4 or more hits. Yeah, this guy got to get going. I've set the numbers: 217 batting average in the last 7 games. That's not Yordan quality numbers. He is having a good season. I mean, a good month, hitting 296. But I this is the last stretch. It's a sprint. Got to finish strong in the
Now it's a
season.
sprint.
Yeah, now it's a sprint. Carry that momentum uh, into October. If the Astros make it, find a way on. But Angel, I guess we're getting old. As God, he is him. I think I did not know that's a new word in the
Oh yeah,
vocabulary now.
my fourth graders be. I love he's in that word. Shout out
What
to them.
about you? What about you though?
When they asked me, they were like, "Which country are you him?" I was like, "Of course." And then they were like, "Ah." No, it's because I be
Hey,
doing them up. It's because okay.
I'm about to say, hold on. You be doing that LeBron James kind of pump when
Of
he
course,
puts his one knee in the air and starts pounding his chest kind of thing.
of course. Okay, so during recess they brought like this bat and this little plastic ball, bro. So I might be going off on them on that one. Like
Damn.
I'd be hitting nukes on them. I'm not like,
Taking them deep,
of
bat
course,
flipping on them.
of course. But yeah,
You got to teach them young. You got to. You just have to. How are they gonna learn?
of course they got what they got tanked by their teacher. Yeah, for sure.
All right, so I'm guessing you got the under two as well as being him. Correct.
I got the over. Yes, he's gonna get more than 4 hits.
Oh, okay, the over. My fault. So
All right.
crucial series for the Astros. This is a potential sweep. Honestly, my opinion. I don't know about your opinion, Angel, but this is a series that they got to sweep.
Yeah.
It's a 99% sure win series mode, but this series too as well is the sweep for me. I say before they go to Seattle and Arizona. But other than that, that's the end of our show. Continue to follow us at Full Steam Ahead on Twitter/X on Elon Musk's app. TikTok as well, Full Steam Ahead, FSA Full Steam Ahead on Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. We're trying to build that up. Threads, we're still there, of course. And of course, on our podcast platforms from Google to Spotify to Apple. Leave us a rate, leave us a review, leave us a thumbs up. Let us know how we're doing. Of course, we're trying to get up to the charts. We were in USA top 200. We just recently dropped, but we're still up in the top 30s in Belgium and Hong Kong. So shout out to our fans out there. Even though we didn't give out shout outs today, we're shouting you out for listening to us as the fans of Full Steam Ahead. But Angel, do you have anything else before we sign off?
No, thank you for listening, and it's, get ready. It's if you're an Astros fan, start calling a doctor because it's gonna be a roller coaster of.
Emotions, man. It's gonna be going like this.
Start calling those therapists.
We might have a vent session. Hopefully, we don't have to have that session, but if we do, we are here for y'all. But other than that, y'all be safe. Have a fantastic Friday. Have a great weekend. Stay safe out there, and we'll give you the recap and the next preview of that crucial upcoming series against the Seattle Mariners. But till then, stay safe. Happy fantasy football as well. Go Stros.
Astros.